Yeah, I'm gonna fire it from this thing. Now I'm hoping this works. That should be good. Alrighty, so obviously we are looking at the 1920s now. Woo! This is gonna be exciting. I love learning about this period. I think you guys are gonna like it. Real quick recap. What did you guys just get done talking about?
World War I.
World War I. All right. Who knows what year did World War I end?
1918 on the 11th month of the 11th day of the 11th month.
Awesome. Yes.
Which
all I
is
knew was
Veterans Day.
1918, but yes, you're correct. Okay, so that means that we're starting this new decade, the 1920s, very strangely. So basically what happened was America obviously just got out of one of the biggest global conflicts ever that had ever occurred at this time. And not only that, but it was extremely disorienting for people because this is the first time that people saw really like evil things. For example, y'all talked about all the mustard gas, all the new forms of weaponry and technology that came out. That was really horrifying because for a lot of people, they realized, okay, this world is capable of a lot of evil. So we're going into the 1920s, mainly joyful, okay, so people are happy. Obviously we're not fighting, but they also kind of call it the disillusionment period, the interwar period, because that's basically what happened. People were disoriented. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this, but whenever I was in, I want to say 6th grade, is whenever we learned about the Holocaust. Does that sound about right? For the first time? Okay, so I remember as a little, however old I was, 11 years old, I was straight up like, my worldview was shattered. Because I think that was the first time that I realized, like, oh my gosh, this world is capable of real evil. Like, I think that was just stuff that I only thought happened in movies. But to see that much death happened in real life, I was disoriented. I was like, holy crap, this is weird. So that's kind of essentially what happened here to America. Only think of it at an even bigger scale because it happened within their lifetimes, and they know people who went overseas and got killed, right? So it's kind of sad. But with that being said, we're looking at the 1920s, but specifically we're going to be talking about this, consumer culture. Does anyone know what consumer culture means? You do?
Basically a culture where it's based on buying and earning products.
Exactly. That's the basis of it. We're going to talk more about that in a second. But I wanted to go ahead and show you guys this because this is what our goals are for today. By the end of it, I want you to be able to explain why a consumer culture developed after the war and what happened after the war specifically, and then also analyze the impact of consumerism in American culture. So that's going to be the big emphasis today, is looking at the culture of America and kind of what people were doing here at home after the war ended and how this consumer culture was kind of developed. Okay, here's the deal though. I am at a disadvantage compared to Mr. Wilkins because I don't get to be with you guys every day. So I really don't know kind of what level of understanding y'all have about this period. So we're going to start, before we dive into this, into consumer culture, I want to do kind of a prior knowledge activity just to see how much you guys know about the 1920s in general. So here's what I want you to do. Everyone get out either a Chromebook, laptop, phone, something. Preferably a laptop though, because if you go to your Google Classroom, you guys can all get to this PowerPoint, and I want you guys to pull it up.
So for this, a laptop, you want to go down to the bathroom and grab one, or the library?
I'll go with
Alright, if she's not in there, go to the library, okay?
Alright, let me know if y'all need help pulling that up. I can't find it. It should be, I think he just posted it probably a couple of times ago. So it should be at the top of your feed.
Yep.
Found it? Good. Alright, and y'all can go ahead and go to this slide, because this is what we're doing. It's the third slide. You can leave it kind of in presentation mode, because I don't want you to get too far ahead of me. We'll do this together. On Google Classroom, I think it says you have to turn this in by the end of the day. You don't. You don't have to return in this PowerPoint. This is just materials that we're doing in class, so don't worry about that.
Let's see.
Okay, so what I'm going to have you guys do is I want each table, there's going to be one person that's going to be designated to create a Jamboard for your group. Have you guys done these before? You heard of a Jamboard?
Yeah.
Some of you have, some of you haven't? Okay, that's okay. What it's going to look like is you guys can go ahead, once you get to this slide, click on this link. Click on it, and it's going to take you to basically like a blank page. Here, I'll show you. It should work on here. It'll say copy. Yes, you want to make a copy. You want to work on a different one. Okay, you should just have a blank screen, basically. Yep, click copy, make a copy. All right, if you have that, as long as one person at your table has it, don't worry about it. Because only one person's going to be making it per table.
Oh.
Yep.
Doesn't work on phone.
Okay, here's what you're going to do. Basically, this is at your group to contribute something. So at least 2 pictures, if not more. And what it is, and I'll show you again what mine kind of looks like. This is an example of what I did. So I just put up 3 pictures, but it's just going to be pictures, no text. All right, text is boring to me. You're all going to present these after you're done. So I want you to think, okay, what are things that I already know that happened in the 1920s? And if you don't know a lot, I already gave you a hint. We're talking about consumer culture. So you can think, okay, whenever you think of consumer culture, what are things that you think of? And it's just going to be like a collage. So for me, I have The Great Gatsby up here because when I was making this, I was like, I remember learning about in high school. I remember we watched that movie that had to do with the 1920s. All right, I've got jazz up here because I remember jazz was really big in the 20s. And then I've got the Model T Ford because I remember that was an invention. So do you think I want you guys to put more than 3 pictures on yours though? Yes. If one person can put 3, then you guys should definitely have more. I want this to be a cool collage. And at the end, each group is going to present them. It's going to be very quick, but I want each person to tell me something you contributed, so no one gets off easy, okay? Does everyone kind of understand what they're doing? Everybody? All right. Yeah, look them up. Just don't look at any new knowledge. It should just be something you already know about. And if you truly know nothing, then you can throw a meme in there about how you know nothing. That's fine. I just want to know what you guys know.
What do you know?
In the 1920s, like the automobile was invented.
Well, we can't.
All the assembly lines.
Yeah, that's
But just, does everyone understand it's just one person doing one job work? Okay, so you'll all submit just
You won't need me.
You got it.
They told me to come over here.
Yeah.
If you're in here, then
Yeah.
No, stay.
We're good.
We're good, I think.
Stay.
you better be good, Kate. Are you
I
doing
am.
good?
Tate doesn't call the shots. You go do your
Yes, I
thing.
do.
Uh-oh, Tate.
I'm a teacher.
We're just happy he's awake right now.
See, he always stays awake when I have him.
Yeah.
So I know who to call if it's an issue.
Well, I'm just in Galloway's class, but she has cleaning.
Okay.
Alright, are you making the joke over your group?
Yeah,
We're good. Thank you.
I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes.
It's like when they used to make cars on. If another person comes through this door, we're on. Okay, so you're either dead or you're out.
Okay.
Your group, did you report it? Y'all can't pull this up real quick, John.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hint though. If you find photos like that, make sure you know what it is, right? Because this is prior knowledge. So if you know what it's about, that's cool. If not, we'll go to explain it.
Somewhat like.
I'm just kidding. I just had like 10. No, that was the 1912.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Thrown into the fire today?
Yeah, he got sick. I just didn't know what it was. Like, we're gonna go. I was like, okay. But it ended up being fine. I was planning on doing this with him anyways.
Anything else?
Yeah, cool. Big deal.
Are you serious?
Woman expertise.
Little more fancy stuff.
And it doesn't all have to be black and white. It can be anything. So, like, for example, on mine, I have a gold background because I thought of the money, right? It could be simple stuff. Don't make it too complicated.
How much does it worth? The painting?
It's like worth 5, so. Really rare ones.
As long as you have something to contribute, so I kind of know.
So you're tired of it,
Was it women's
They were called the Brotherhood. And the reason for that was because that's when we were in the Great Depression. Because like I remember correctly, we were doing so much stuff that inflation rose the cost of everything.
How about you guys? Do you have
Okay, let's look up Great Depression.
That is the amount.
It wasn't that bad.
So it actually ended in like our 30s because after that we started getting ready for war. But that's the World War II era.
So we can't just put reimpression on it?
Nope.
Why?
I mean, you can include a photo.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Because, well, remember, we're just doing pictures, it can't just be a thing.
This is Vegeta.
And when you get down to the middle, you get another cake. Because the sour cream is the worst.
Alright, go.
You need to read more.
Oh, yeah. Radio. Okay, thanks.
Alright, we each have about 1 more minute, so wrap up.
What? I'm submitting a request because I didn't get it.
So y'all all just work on
Okay, anything else?
Yes.
In the same day?
Television was in not 1920s.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The radio was 1920s. I think they had the television in there. That was
No.
1950s.
Wait. Didn't they, wasn't Mickey Mouse invented around the 20s?
Alright guys, where are we at? Is everyone done? You have something to present? Will 2 more minutes help? Yes. 2 more minutes? Alright, you guys get 2 more minutes.
Okay, so far I got 4. Wait, you should add Mickey Mouse. That's something I can do. That's the only thing I know.
Yeah, 1920.
Don't do that. It's actually
He loves it.
By the way, I watched the original cartoon, and it was very graphic. It was filled with animal cruelty. Like they kicked the piglets and used the pig as like an instrument.
Of course, the kids were
Oh, I see.
Let's take our think of 0 things.
There we go. Okay, very good.
Put one more so that we can each do 2. What is that? Oh, the eraser.
But we didn't each do 2.
The eraser?
Alright guys, here's what we're gonna do. Everybody listen up. If you're not totally done, that's okay. We're still gonna present whatever you have. But whoever was doing it on their computer, you're gonna go to this link on the presentation. Okay? And what I want you to do is on your Jamboard where it says share, you should be able to copy the link and make sure it says share with anyone that has the link. I want you to copy it here and then write the names of the people in your group, and we're gonna present this real quick. All right. Let me know if y'all struggle doing that, or if yours doesn't share. I know the Wi-Fi's been kind of spotty in here too.
How do I make a link again?
So you're gonna hit share.
Oh, wait.
See where it says share up there? Go back to your Jamboard. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Nah, I remember
Hit
that.
share. Make sure at the bottom it says. Make sure it says anyone can get it. So
Yeah,
anyone
that's
with this group can get it. Yes. Right here. Go scroll back down. Click.
How about I just
Yeah.
Josie, Josie. Wait, I remember this trick. I found that by accident. He put something really long like this parenthesis, and like the semicolon, just put space in between, automatically turns to that. There it is.
It should be on the PowerPoint. So if you go
Oh,
back down.
that's how you start it up.
So I have one.
Seven. I should have 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, thank goodness someone deleted that. Why is it just a bunch of dotted lines when you were there? Oh,
It's gum joy.
Are you guys 8 perfect defenders?
there we go.
Alright, who are we missing? Just y'all? Okay. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and get started then with the first group while they're getting theirs in. Okay. Is this working? Go back. Go back. Alright. Alright, Kentucky, where y'all at? Who's Kentucky? Alright, y'all come up here and I want y'all to describe what y'all put up here.
So the first picture we have up there is a picture of cars being made on what they invented in the 1920s. It's called an assembly line. And this made the production of cars like faster and cheaper. So the cost of cars actually went down for a little bit.
The Great Depression sparked in the 1920s because of
We'll get there.
reasons.
We'll get there. We'll talk about that.
And Mickey Mouse was created in 1928, and I don't know because apparently the TV was made in the 50s.
Here's a picture of what your fashion sense was back in the day.
Awesome. Do you guys know what that fashion style was called, that dress? Does anyone know? Yep, say it louder. Flapper. Flapper. They're called the flapper dresses, and we'll talk about that more today too. All right, awesome guys.
We also got radio.
Oh, radio. Okay.
Yeah, the radio.
Was invented.
Hey guys, listen up.
Was invented in the 20s.
The first thing they wrote was television, but that was like 1950s.
So the TV actually was invented in the 20s.
I knew it.
It was. A later version of what you're thinking of was in the 50s, but the television was in the 20s as well. But
I knew
listen,
it
radio
'cause-
is good. We're gonna talk about both of those. That's awesome.
I knew it because there's no way he could have been, that character could have invented the
Right.
TV.
Right, correct. All right, snaps for y'all. All right, moving on.
Because we have to snap.
I'm gonna exit this out. Okay, next is Florida.
Loud.
It says you do not have access to this file. Florida, go back to your Jamboard and make sure it says share and anyone can access.
Loud.
And then change it, and then we'll come back to you guys. Okay, we're going to Alaska. Alaska, same thing. You do not have access to this file. So make sure where you hit share, it says anyone can access.
I'm gonna eat when I'm hungry.
All right, Hawaii. Oh, look,
It's fine.
guys. Y'all so far, Kentucky
Just
was
a
the
little,
only people
it's
that did
more
it right.
applesauce now.
I have access. What is this one? Does it have access? Access. All right. What about this one?
Oh.
Ours has access now.
New York, you have access?
Oh, you're in New York, I thought you were Hawaii.
No, we're Hawaii.
I think we got it.
Okay, here, I'm gonna refresh it. Make sure, once you get it though, make sure you change the file on here. I'm gonna refresh it. Okay, let's go back. Florida. Did it work? Yay! Okay, Florida, your group, come on up.
Oh, never mind.
Just talk about whatever picture you came up with, yeah.
So the League of the Nations was established right after, shortly after World War One ended to create like where there would be like maybe secret alliances and like if one country tries to another country, there'd be like multiple powerful countries like to stop them.
Right.
That was kind of the idea behind the League of Nations.
The women's rights to vote was passed in the 1920s also, same with the Great Depression in the later 1920s.
Yep.
Carried through the 1930s. The Wall Street bombing was one of the worst until, what, 9/11, it's like, it's ranked second.
I didn't hear what you said, I'm gonna be honest.
Wall Street bombing is like ranked second.
I don't know what it's ranked, but I know it's bad.
Yes, it was
Sure, I
in
believe you.
Manhattan, New York, and one of the last one.
Yeah, who wants to describe this one to me? What's this red picture over here? What does that represent?
Blood.
Soviet Union.
Soviet Union?
Oh, yeah,
And
that.
what specifically, what ideology does that sickle come to represent? Do you guys know?
Communism.
Communism, that's right. Okay, communism definitely becomes just kind of a fear of communists that happens in the public in America. So we'll talk about that, not so much today, but that'll definitely be something that develops after World War I. All right, anything else, guys? Y'all good? All right, great. Snaps for them. That's awesome. We're also going to talk about feminism and women's rights more today, too. So I'm glad y'all have that as well. All right. Okay, we did Florida, Alaska.
Yeah, I didn't see the League of Nations.
Alaska did it. Yay. Okay. All right, come on up, Alaska.
So our first picture is jazz. We didn't want to steal it, but that's something that pops up in my mind for any century. And then we have the Constitution. It was made again.
Correction. Made again. I see what you're talking about. The whole Constitution was not necessarily made again, but it's called amendments. So things were amended to the Constitution. We added things. That's what this group talked about, right? Women's right to vote. That was one of the amendments. All right, good.
So here it's just like talking about like a baseball was like a famous thing, like well, it was popular.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Back then. I mean, it still is popular. It's just
Not nearly.
Does anyone know a really, really, really famous baseball player?
Babe Ruth.
Joe DiMaggio.
Babe Ruth.
Joe DiMaggio? Is that?
I'm talking about in the 1920s, maybe. I don't know who that is. But in the 1920s, Babe Ruth, that's when he came to fame.
and then it's just talking about like the sense of fashion they had back then.
Awesome. Good. Great job, guys. Snaps. All right. Who is next on the list? Okay, that was Alaska. We have Hawaii.
What? A witness.
All right, Hawaii. Come on up.
Alright, so I put the Neverland the TV, that was made in 1920s.
I put that there was dancing, as dancing was a huge part of the 1920s.
It was. Dancing was big. There was some like, kind of like today, how there's like specific dances that come out on TikTok and they get really big and they have names for them, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, do you know any specific names for dances that came out in the 20s? The Charleston, have y'all ever heard of that?
Yeah, that.
That was one. There was stuff like that that happened in this culture. Awesome. Great job, guys. Snaps. Alrighty. So that was who? Hawaii? Michigan. Okay. Alright, I'll come over and look at y'all's
one thing that was very prominent in the 1920s was the art of using blackface, where they wouldn't like black actors, but they like cover their skin black to act. Also, in the schooling system, like most schools would only be white kids, as you can see. Also, one thing that I did search up while I was looking at both of these was that during the 1920s, the KKK were pretty prominent then.
Yes, there was actually a resurgence of the KKK that happened around this time, and we'll touch on that a little bit today, not a ton, because again, we're talking about consumerism, but we are going to touch on that a little bit. So I'm glad you guys brought that up.
They were also pretty sure the KKK was created like 1865. So, yeah.
So in the middle, at the top, we have flapper. Those are ladies with like short hair, and they would flaunt their disobedience. And over here, we have the raccoon coats. Very popular.
Awesome, great job, guys. Snaps. I like that y'all had a ton of pictures. That was great. Okay, we got New York, we got Wisconsin. All right, Wisconsin.
Okay, so for ours, I put the vacuum cleaner and the refrigerator. This was called the Hoover. I don't know, it was by a guy, and then the refrigerator was the market like spiked during the 1920s.
I put the washing machine and then the camera. It made the washing machine made it easier for people to wash their clothes. And extra camera had a camera and a portable darkroom.
I put, that's a hair dryer, and then that's also a radio.
Awesome, great. I love that you guys touched on new technology, because that's probably going to be one of the biggest focuses today with consumer culture. And the reason that that was able to come about, that people wanted to buy so much, is that we had so many new inventions coming out. So I love that. Great job, you guys. Next. Okay. Wisconsin, Rhode Island.
Okay, so first we have Amelia Earhart and the airplane.
Big roof.
That's what you look like?
Yep, that's what it looked like.
Then we have women's rights and origin though.
All right, great job, guys. Again, we're touching on feminism, women's rights, baseball, and Amelia Earhart. I like that. No one's said her yet. That's awesome.
Isn't she like the first pilot that crossed like the Atlantic Ocean?
She is. Female pilot, yes. Okay, and then what was y'all's group? Were you guys Michigan? Michigan. See, did it get it working yet?
How do you
All right. So go to share. Okay. And then click on here where it says link. See where it says only share with only people added this. Share with people. Okay, and now you should be able. Actually, I could probably update it, and then you can do it automatically. Let me refresh. See what that did. Okay, awesome. Maybe. Possibly. All right, there we go. Wait, is this yours? Yeah. Yes, okay. Last presenters, Michigan.
Is that lady with starving kids?
Mm-hmm.
So that,
Oh yeah, Great Depression.
that resembles like jazz and music, because that was a big thing in the 1920s. And then the Great Depression, everything. And then women's rights, the suffrage movement, and women's rights. Women who were able to vote in 1920.
Yes.
The 1910.
Okay, awesome, guys. So I'm seeing a lot of repeats throughout the room. So definitely women's rights was a big thing. Again, jazz culture, specifically the Harlem Renaissance. Does anyone know what that is?
Is that like basically an era where a bunch of black jazz scenes started to pop up and get popular?
Yeah, and not just jazz, but there's just a very distinct black culture that was able to rise up in general, which is awesome. And then Great Depression, a lot of y'all talked about that. That does start in 1929. We're not going to look at that so much today. Today we're looking at the economic boom that happened after the war, and then we'll talk about the Depression more when we get to the 30s. But great job, guys. That kind of gives me an idea of where we're at. Okay, so moving on. Okay, consumerism. That's what we're talking about today. I know you already mentioned kind of what it is. Anyone else? What are thoughts whenever you think of consumerism? What does that make you think of? Products. Someone from this table. Consumerism. Buying something.
Taking,
Taking.
getting or receiving.
Getting, receiving, getting a lot. What about you guys? What is consumer culture?
Culture.
That's something to do with GDP.
Sort of, yeah, GDP. So if you have a high GDP and your economy is booming, then there's definitely more people are able to participate in consumer culture. That's part of it. What do you think?
Fast food.
Fast food, okay, that's part of it. Consumer culture. What do you think?
Like, not copying, but like absorption of a different culture and learning from it.
Yeah, that's part of it. Okay, learning from a different culture. The main thing I want you guys to think of when you think of consumerism and consumer culture, when you think of a culture that develops, that basically means that, first of all, there was an economic boom that happened after America. First things first, why is that? Why did America have so much money all of a sudden?
World War I.
War, but what does that mean? Okay, there was a war, how do we get money?
By being in another country.
Germany owed so much money so they had to pay back everything and give all the land back.
Yes, did everyone hear that? Germany owes us money now. So this is the first time in American history where we're no longer the debtors, we're the creditors. People owe us money. So that has a huge impact on our economy. So one, that's part of it, is people now have more money. Our economy has money in it, so we're able to kind of, we're able to create this consumer culture. But essentially what it is in consumerism, we want people to, like you guys said, constantly be buying more. We want people to think that they need more. Is that what it was like during World War I? What were the spending habits like then?
A lot more conservative.
Very limited.
They had these like
Rationing.
things, there were tickets, and so they could buy just that amount.
Exactly. Perfect. I heard someone say rationing. Rationing, yeah, so there were actual, you might have looked at this with Wilkins, I don't know, there were actual posters that they had and kind of propaganda that were getting Americans to spend less and less and less. Because why?
War.
Yeah, we needed it for war. What do you guys remember about this term? Did y'all talk about war of attrition? Have you guys heard that vocabulary, attrition?
I have.
You're nodding your head. What does it mean, war of attrition?
Isn't it like, right?
And you get that, I'm sorry.
Not quite. What do you think?
Stamina.
Stamina, kind of. It's like stamina. So World War I was a war of attrition, and what that means is it's less about, okay, let's try and defeat the other side. Let's try and defeat Germany. It was more so both sides were just trying to outlive the other in resources.
It was a war of
Wear them
endurance.
down.
Right. We were running out of resources. They were running out of resources. We're just hoping that the other side runs out first. That's what war of attrition means. Okay, so that's very different from what's happening in the 20s. Now, we won. We got money. And so this consumer culture is being developed because we want people to spend, spend, spend. All right? Does that kind of make sense? Okay, question. Do you guys think that we live in a consumer culture
Yes.
right now?
Yes.
Okay, hang on. I didn't ask you. I'm asking this table. What do y'all think?
No idea.
No idea? Well, what do we talk about consumer culture? What is it? We want people to buy stuff all the time, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that that exists today in our culture? You say yes? Would you guys be in agreement, disagreement? Do you
Very.
think we're in a consumer culture right now? I'm going to say definitely. If I get on my phone right now and I get on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, I'm going to get an ad like every other scroll telling me to buy something, trying to get my attention. It's everywhere, even more so than it was now. But this was kind of the start of that. It wasn't as in your face as it is now because I basically carry advertisements in my pocket all day long. But there were a lot of new advertisements that came out that were trying to get people to participate in this. So that's what we're going to look at.
So did business, did a lot of business boom at this time?
Oh yeah, business was definitely boom. This is called an economic boom, this time period right now, which is very different than what's happening in the 1930s.
Great Depression.
Great Depression. And we're going to look at some of today and maybe why some of this, we can kind of see what led to that depression. Because it's very stark. It's a very quick change from the 20s to be booming, all of a sudden the 30s. Not even just in America, but a global depression. So we're going to talk about that.
Isn't that because, like, as America's economy started to fall because there were other countries that were getting stuff from us, they started to get affected too.
There's a
And
lot of
also,
reasons. There's a lot of
because the
reasons.
war too.
divorce part of it. We'll talk about all that later, though. We'll get to that. Okay, I want everyone to look at this, though, this advertisement. All right, what product are they advertising?
Washing machine.
Washing machine. Everyone say, no one's participating. Everyone say that together.
Washing machine.
Good. Good. Okay, so we're talking about a washing machine. That's crazy. This was the first time that a washing machine was even a deal. Okay, so let's look at this title. It takes all the drudgery out of washing day. What is washing day?
When all the clothes you have to wash.
Yeah. So, do any of you guys do your own laundry now?
Yeah. Somewhat.
Some of you, or at least you have to help out, you know, mom and dad do your laundry. Okay.
I haven't done it recently, but yes, I've done it.
Well, eventually, you're all going to be adults. You're all going to be living alone, probably. You'll have to do this. You'll have to wash your clothes. And so for me, I do have a particular day that I choose. I usually do it on a Sunday. I get all my laundry done for the week, and I'm good. But do y'all think that I spend all day long doing my laundry?
No.
Absolutely not. I got too much to do. That's homework time. That's study time. I got classes on Monday morning. I'm not spending all day long washing clothes. All right, back then, before this little ding-dong, everyone was spending not everyone. Actually, who was spending all day doing clothes? The women, right? Still very particular gender roles. They're spending all day long washing their clothes, okay? And if you have a big family like mine, I have 4 other siblings. If you have that many kids, that many people, and a lot of families were big, there's no telling how long it took. So why is this such an impact in American culture that we have this now?
Saves time.
It gets it done, saves time. Okay, think about who is this affecting the most?
Women.
The women, how is it affecting them?
They don't have to take as long as washing things. I mean,
Yeah.
they just, I reckon they just throw them in.
Exactly. They don't have to take as long in their day being a housewife. Some of y'all in your jam boards, you talked about a lot of different inventions. There were vacuums. What else? Were there any other cleaning products y'all talked about? I know we talked about a refrigerator. We talked about what? Hair dryer. All of that cuts time
radio.
for who? The women, right?
There was also the radio.
There's the radio, right? But specifically with this kind of thing,
Yeah.
this is cutting time for women. So, like you were talking about, there were flappers in the 20s. We kind of see this rebellion that women are going through. Part of that leads to the fact that women had more time on their hands. Okay? These big inventions were leading to women being able to do other things besides just cleaning, which is kind of cool. Do you think that maybe challenged some stereotypical gender roles at the time?
Yes.
I'm betting you 100% it did. Not just because of the laundry machine. That's part of it, right? All right. Anything else you want to talk about with this source in particular? You feel good about it? I feel pretty good about it. I think you understand it. Okay. I like these. Not the product they're selling, but I like the ads. They're cool. All right. Yes.
Can I go to that?
Yes, go ahead. Okay, what product
So,
are these?
cigarettes.
Cigarettes.
So
Right.
did they actually think they were healthy back then?
Yes.
Well, we're going to talk about that. Let's focus on this first one. All right, just take someone here. What techniques are the advertisers using to try and get me to buy cigarettes?
Oh.
It's less irritating. How do I know it's less irritating?
Physicians say 20,000 physicians say.
Ooh, 20,000 physicians said it would be less irritating. Is that going to convince you to buy Lucky's? Some of y'all, yeah? Yeah?
No, I guess I wouldn't get any other one.
There you go. Does it say that they're healthy?
No.
It does?
It says your throat protection against irritation against cough.
Now who said this? Did the physician say this?
No.
We don't know. Probably just the advertising people. But he's right. If those of y'all that can't see in the back, it says your throat protection against irritation against cough. Which is horribly worded, by the way, but yes. So it's not necessarily telling us these are healthy, but it will be less irritating. Now I have a question. What physicians are telling you this? Where are they getting this from?
Just random ones.
Maybe. I don't know. The point is I have no clue. They could be making all this up. I have no idea. But the point is that this is a technique that they used in the 20s. They said, oh, physicians said it's okay, it's going to be less irritating for you. And so that's a way they got people to buy unhealthy things.
So is that how they got started, like, for ads now? And, like, from the 1920s?
Well, I mean, advertising has been around forever to an extent. It's just persuasion. It's just a different medium of that. But yeah, definitely. There's going to be techniques we're going to see today that you can still see probably in advertisements if you turn on your phones or your TVs today, for sure. Okay, how about Viceroys? Why do I need to buy Viceroys instead of Lucky's?
They quote, filter the smoke.
Yeah, your dentist recommends it. Okay, this group over here, can you find any flaws with this advertisement? Or something that maybe makes you think, maybe this isn't all that trustworthy? How about you? What do you think? Do you trust this dentist man?
No.
Why not?
Because all of them, like, I don't know. So dentists would usually say no to cigarettes.
A dentist would usually say no to cigarettes. Okay, what about you? Do you trust this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah? Why?
I don't know.
He's got a nice face. Just makes you feel calm.
It's got a weird in it.
He's got a mirror. Wow, he looks legit, doesn't he? Okay, what about you?
What if the fake dentist?
What if it is a fake dentist? Did they give me a source for this?
No.
No. So if I had to guess, what's happening here is whoever was in charge of the Viceroy's advertising, they went over and they said, all right, we're going to make this really convincing. And they made up a quote from this imaginary dentist. Or maybe not. Maybe they did talk to their friendly neighborhood dentist and they said, hey, do you recommend Viceroy's? And they said, yes, I do. We don't know, but that's the point. Okay? So some of the advertising strategies you're going to see from this time, obviously most people today aren't going to fall for it. Like when I look at this, I was like, no way. And we just know now that cigarettes are unhealthy. But that's not the point. The point is I want you to look at how are people from this time period trying to convince people to buy more and more and more. Yes?
They're using people that have medical knowledge to suggest unhealthy or bad products for your health.
Exactly. They're using someone who has more knowledge, who's an expert, and that's what they're using to get you to buy it. Doesn't matter if it's true. It matters that if I'm walking down the street and I see that, it grabs my attention. Ooh, there's a dentist. And so that's the technique they used. Does that kind of make sense?
Do you think part of the reason why it was so much easier back then was because not only because of a lack of knowledge, but also because people weren't accustomed to ads trying to get them everything. So it was
Oh, that's definitely why. I mean, you guys are advertisement experts at this point. You see them all the time. It wasn't necessarily like that back then, right? I mean, they still saw advertisements, but they weren't bombarded with it to the extent that you guys are. So yeah, there's probably, they didn't know how to spot out that misinformation as quick. Definitely. All right, let's move on. Well, I love this one. All right, what product are they advertising?
Soap.
Just soap?
Yeah, it says what.
Hang on, hey, no one answer it. Everyone read it, or at least part of it. Absorb it. All right, what product is it?
Soap.
Fat reducing soap. Yeah, who wants some of that? I would love that, man. You wake up in the morning. This is my favorite part. Okay, so it says, reduce any part of the body desired without affecting other parts. No dieting or exercising. Be as slim as you wish. Acts like magic in reducing double chin, abdomen, ungainly ankles, unbecoming wrist, arms, shoulders, large bust, or any superfluous fat on your body. How great would that be? I don't have to exercise anymore. I don't have to diet. All I have to do is go buy my Lamar soap and just... Or maybe I'm okay with my ankles, but I'm not okay with my legs, so I just have to do one part of it. Maybe if I just scrub it in this part, that'll get really skinny, and the rest of me will stay the same.
Of course, it's not true and it doesn't work.
Right.
For one thing, you can target one area for fat.
Hang on, stay with me. What techniques did they use to try and get you to buy this?
Sensationalism.
Sensationalism. Okay, elaborate on that. What does that mean?
It's like when you make up stories that are like supposed to catch your eye, but they're actually false.
Right, exactly. Okay.
I'd say it has to, what's the word, shame and like not wanting to be fat, stuff like that. Shame.
Yeah. Okay, I'm really glad you said it. He said shame, right? Shame about your body. Here's a question. In World War I, do you think women were all that concerned at the time with their weight?
No.
No. I would say probably, people in general, we always want to stay healthy. I'm sure there was, you don't want your neighbor talking behind your back that you're overweight or whatever. I get that. But to an extent, A, their focus was on the war. B, they were rationing like heck. I don't think they're totally stuffing their faces all the time. You know what I mean? So this is kind of a new thing. And you'll see this throughout history, but all throughout, there's kind of like a body type, especially for women, that is considered like the it body type. Like this is what we want people to look like. So in this time period, this is her. This is the it look. Okay, some of y'all showed me this. They had short hair, they had these drop waist dresses, the flapper dresses, and they were pencil thin, all right? That was the look. If Kim Kardashian was in this time period, she would not pass the vibe. That was just not the standard of beauty. And so it was kind of, it was a very unnatural standard, right? If you see some of the models from this time period, I mean, straight up like sickly looking. And that's what people wanted to look like because those were the famous people. So if that's the trend in this time period, do you think some women probably wanted this? Yeah, because it's pretty much unnatural for certain people to look like what the body image was. So that's something you see a lot is after the war ended, when the 20s began, in order to kind of, I don't know, facilitate a consumer culture, society made problems that weren't there before, and then they made products to fix those problems. And then the products they made oftentimes didn't actually solve those problems. That jump all that? That makes sense? Okay, so we have this standard now for women to look like this. So we're gonna profit off of it and sell this bar of soap. Do you think it worked?
No, not even close.
No, do you think people bought it?
Yes.
Yes, in fact, I was looking at this up earlier just because I was curious. Tons of people bought it, and it eventually ended up being shut down by the U.S. because it was confirmed that it was a fraud, and they were basically not able to sell advertisements anymore. So it essentially had coconut oil in it, and I think like potassium iodine or something. It was coconut oil. You're getting moisturized, if anything, but it did not work. So that's sad. But yeah, but a lot of women bought this because, again, that was a changing trend that was happening. Do we still see ads like this today? No dieting, no exercising, just take this pill and you'll look great. Yeah, we still see it a lot. So keep your eye out for that. All right, great. Okay, this is the last example that we're going to look at, and then we're going to move on to something else. Cars. We're selling cars. All right, let's look at this one.
Yay, Ford and Chevrolet.
Yeah, Ford and Chevrolet. The old debate. $650. He said $650. Who would love for their first car to be $650?
If it was one of them, most definitely.
Almost. If it was any car that ran, I'd pay $650. That's unthinkable. Okay.
Well, the only problem was that if you would go back in time to do that, your money would be worthless.
Exactly. We're going to talk about that. First, though, what techniques are they using over here to try and get you to buy their car?
It's like a better car.
Yeah, it's just better quality, right? This probably says something awesome as well, but I cannot read it. It is very blurry. But we know it's $650. Okay, here's a question. So like he was saying, obviously I would love to pay $650 for a car today. Do you think that that was a reasonable price or kind of an expensive price back in the 20s? Yeah, it was a pretty expensive bargain. Not totally unreasonable, but that's a big cost to pay $650. Okay, if these cars were so popular back in the day, how is it that so many Americans were able to buy them if it's still a big expense?
They saved up.
You think they saved up? Okay.
They either saved up or they weren't more jobs.
Okay, so that's an option. They saved up, found more jobs. What do you think?
Some probably just couldn't afford it, just did it anyway.
Well, how is that possible? If I go to buy something and I can't afford it, how do I buy it anyways?
You just ignore the expenses.
You think I steal it? No, the people at the
No, I
store.
mean ignore the expenses.
You just take a loan from the bank.
You take
A loan from the
That's what I
bank?
meant.
All right.
War bonds.
That's the
Oh,
winner,
yeah,
winner, chicken
war
dinner.
bonds, I forgot.
What does this word mean?
I owe you money?
Oh,
What does
How much
credit mean?
credit
What do you get someone
do you
else? What is it? Do you know what credit means? Do any of you guys know what credit means?
It means money you owe.
Money you owe. Yeah, sort of. Credit basically is like what you were saying. If I can't afford something, it's kind of like an IOU, right? We know what credit cards are. You can charge this to my credit card now and I'll pay it back later. Or like someone said, a loan at the bank. Right, I'm going to get this loan now so I can buy this and I'll pay it back later. Okay, credit, as familiar as that sounds now, like a lot of you either have credit cards, you definitely have parents that have credit cards. This is a new thing, okay? This had not been done before. If credit is a new thing, it has not been done before, do you think everyone is going to be using it wisely?
No.
No. Do you think people know how to use it wisely?
No.
Probably not.
Oh.
gonna run themselves.
Exactly.
There may be some that are
She said they're
smart.
just not figuring out how to use it to an extent, maybe. So maybe they're not the most responsible with credit yet. Especially just your middle-class Americans that want a car. They see all these cool advertisements and they're like, yo, that sounds great. My neighbor has one. I want one too. Okay, keep that tucked in the back of your mind that this is the first time that people are buying on credit a lot. And what happens if everyone is buying on credit but not enough people are paying it back? Debt. Can an economy sustain that?
No.
No. So this boom, we're going to find out, is not going to last a super long time. So keep that tucked in. All right. For all my men in the room, men only answer this. This Chevrolet, it says it's easy to drive. How do you know it's easy to drive?
Woman is a woman's driving.
Oh, a woman's driving it. If a woman can drive this thing, shame. You can drive that easily, okay? Does that make sense? So that was a technique that was used, okay? So definitely still stereotypical gender roles that are involved. All right. I hope you guys are paying attention because this is where the brunt of the lesson comes in. We have an activity. Yay. Okay. Each group, each table, you're going to be making your own advertisement today. But here's your criteria. It's going to be a new product coming out in the 20s, and I'll give you a list of things to choose from. But a lot of y'all talked about it earlier in your jam boards. And I want you to create an advertisement that you might see from this time period, okay? Don't be using your 2022 minds to create an advertisement. I want to be able to look at yours and think, oh, I could have seen that in the streets in 1920. Don't copy one you found online. It's likely that when you're researching it, you will find an advertisement. Don't use that one. Come up with your own.
So are you gonna
Okay.
create and send me?
We're going to think about techniques advertisers use to create a consumer culture. So what that means is, how are you going to make your ad convince me that I need to buy that thing, even if I don't actually need it, okay? Think about manipulation, propaganda, any of that stuff, and how is your product significant in American society? So kind of like we talked with the laundry machine, that was significant because, okay, women have more time on their hands. I want you to be able to explain that. And each group is going to present when we're done. Okay, this is the list of inventions you get to choose from. Look at this list. In a second, I'm going to ask each of y'all what you choose because I want everyone to have a different one. This is what I want you to feast your eyes on right now. While each group is presenting, you're going to be filling these out. So I want to make sure that you know that you include these in your own ad. Obviously, what's the group's product? How do they convince the consumer they need the product? So what's their techniques? Which features show you it was from the 20s, right? We're in the 20s, not the 2020s. And then what can we assume about the culture based on the advertisement? Does it show us what Americans value? Stuff like that. Does anyone have questions about what they're doing?
Is it on, we like make like an advertisement somewhere?
I'm about to hand you a poster. These guys, you don't have to copy this on this. I want you to copy it in your own notes, like pencil and paper. You can if you want, but I think it'll be better if you have it with the rest of your class notes. This is just to guide you, and so you make sure you know what to put in yours. Okay, I'm going back to this. When I come by your group and hand you a poster, I want you to tell me what product you want. All right, what product? All right, this group's got the TV. TV is off limits. Refrigerator. Refrigerator is now off limits. Okay, what do you guys want?
Bread slicer.
Bread slicer, okay. No more bread slicer.
I'll pull up a picture of this.
I doubt it.
To make it
Vacuum
look.
cleaner. No one do vacuum cleaner. The drive-in restaurant is now off.
Okay, we all know what it looks like, to be honest here.
Ah, yes, a drive-in restaurant crashes the car through windows.
Okay, instant camera. Bread slicer will be taken, I'm so sorry. I think you've got a washing machine, you've got an electric razor, you've got frozen food products. Electric razor. Frozen food products. Washing machine, radio. What are y'all feeling? Frozen food products.
We were doing this from the
yes, you can.
Is it gonna be open?
Alright guys, there's colored pencils in the back. I want you to utilize them. Make it beautiful.
Yeah.
You can use anything.
Not too big. I think it'll be good to have an idea to have like show a family sitting around by it. Something like that, you know.
Also, I'll say this, if you're not the one that's actively drawing on the poster, and that's okay, research things about your product, because I want you to be able to tell me how it affected American society when this was invented.
I'll look it up.
So here's another idea we can put.
Oh. Here.
But look how they
Like you could put like we put like sort of
heavily on power. Yeah, bird's eye.
good box did. Yeah.
Fruit, vegetables, seafood. Yeah, so I'm guessing that's the top right now.
They want you to be able to see the description.
Oh, they even made jello.
Oh. Are we going to go over the house plan? That's the idea. Yeah, but we think that. I thought you could.
Yeah, yeah. It only, I think bird's eye was so not like
Apparently, it was really important because it got news out easily, and also for entertainment. Plus, families would come together and watch television for hours on end with their children. All right, let's do it.
Listen, Mom, spot on what you're doing, and I want you to know, I want to be able to see this
Also,
far away.
also
Right
really
away, right here. And it doesn't have to touch you, just see it from the other end. But I don't want you to copy what you saw. It doesn't have to be word for word. I get what
I'm
you're
gonna
doing.
look
You're
at
trying
some
to think outside the
commercials
box.
from this
You
to
can still
like.
use techniques without being super wordy, you know what I mean?
Can I use the special supplement?
Looking for ideas. Okay. Probably losing that copy of the idea. I just take that piece of education
How many ideas?
Yeah, but what we do
Wait, I got an idea. How about How about we like, how about we draw like a family surrounding by it, and then like it says like a number like this huge amount of sign to say is like this invention is like a marvel that should be in every household or something like that. Maybe like some sports, like baseball. Yeah.
Where are we gonna put this when we come back?
How about
It's,
We're trying to like list things, but it doesn't matter.
let's think.
You guys think, I don't love that.
How about Okay, how about for like a title, something like, the one, the product to bring the family together.
No, I'm thinking like something like, entertainment and
Because like every day, make your own.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so this, you don't necessarily have to do it for your own. You can actually have it like this. I just want you to write that down. That way you can
I was just thinking entertainment.
I'm not feeling sure it's but.
How about for some kind of surefire way to bring the family together?
Like this?
Yes.
Entertainment, no.
That's just the kind of description you get.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, that was a joke.
Yeah, you can use the idea of that. Yeah, add more things to it. I don't want it to just be driving. Sure. Yeah, definitely use that to go off of.
I see.
Alright, if you're not drawing, look up some things around here. See how that contributed to American society. I want everyone to be working on something.
I have a question.
That TV looked. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, it's probably one of the most iconic.
It looks like a toast.
Is that what I said? Oh, that's what it is.
Bread slicer in the 1920s.
It used to be able to.
There could be different types of it too.
There used to be, there's this story that's passed down.
You can pick whichever one.
Like, the TV was so old that they keep going for it.
Well, I want you to be thinking about while you're making the advertising is how does the
Give you something on the rest of the
slicer, you know, it's pretty simple. What is that?
Right, an air marshal?
Because his TV was so big.
It said on time.
The signal, like, would explain television sets to the
And they were able to.
So they thought it would be crowd.
That's terrible.
Like cameras, like slowed down in some ways before we. This made us so
Yeah,
now we can prepare.
Add some color to it.
Yeah.
I really like to slow
Now
down.
use made it where we're gonna save food. So it kind of increasing the weight.
Were you gonna keep it? That's like.
Instant picture.
They're really big.
Only drink the school stuff.
I thought you were the kid who had the folder. I was I'm going to school with this. I'm 24. I'll be going to that. 11 minutes. I swear there was some. Oh, they were in this.
Instant picture.
It made, when you build a house,
Yeah, that's right.
or make food ahead of time. And shorten.
Have them in your head. If they're not in your head, write them on the back. Is that what you're talking about?
Listen, this is a little old fashioned. They put parts where they could fit them.
Okay, and now we need.
I'm not.
I'll take one.
I mean, they went way original back then, you know.
There you go. Small sign. get some brown here. Hey, do you think we could put some gold around it? Sorry.
Probably would be copper.
Or like little gold frames to it.
Listen, this is the 1920s. We were talking about building. The government was.
And it's just I tried to make it a little more.
I'll just wait.
Right now, the only notes I want you to focus on is A, your own ad, those presentation notes that were on here.
Yeah.
So the stuff up there, just, how was the stuff like that. And then of course with other people, there's an ownership. Do the same things with theirs as well.
So, I'm, this is,
Just break the left hand and use your
the
right hand.
reason why.
That's exactly how
I know.
Going up to 1926, a woman
can't reverse the process.
using this machine.
Alright, if this is a woman, what features in your ad to make her look more like a woman? Because if you told me, I see that short hair, I might think it's a dude. Alright,
What's that supposed to be?
how are you gonna make it?
Oh.
I
was thinking
if I'm
one
walking
would
down
have
the street and I
have
see
a-
a tiny little
have
box like
a-
that, do you think I'm gonna be drawn to
A
it?
ponytail.
I wanna see toes, I want it to be big. So I would make those words a little bit bigger too. But other than that, I like where you're
Yeah.
going. I like the stereotypes, I like the picture of your loaf up here. That's good. I just make it more appealing, because remember, consumer culture, I gotta draw my consumer in. I want them to think they need this product. That's a good start.
Product right here.
Or big, bold.
Let that grab your attention.
No, I already know it, like,
All that.
Yeah, I saw
I
it.
saw the dollar left, but I can't find anybody that's selling chocolate.
Get that purple?
You know what I mean?
Yep. You outline it. Like this.
Alright, what are y'all gonna do for your ad? What's the idea? The vision?
Yeah, you do it for just instant.
Oh, okay, cool.
Go
Nice.
down, follow the line. Got it. You
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, have y'all been looking into why was this so significant in American society? Alright, throw me some ideas. Awesome, great.
Which wasn't really efficient for like storing thin and eyes.
Right.
And it was now, it said that it was messy.
How about instead of like stuff like that, you could just save some time for yourself and just use it as a product.
Do you think it's significant that consumers find significant? Yes, that's something you're outside of your business, messy. That's a big thing too. You add like
Before.
Trying to like provide food and things like that, or like cleaning out of the
It's black and white.
going out and getting your food every day, every single day. Great, awesome. So convenience.
I didn't have color. Great job, Alex.
How about how about 19? How about 1900?
See, the 1920s was before color. So
Hey, can you write 2000 something scientists all agree that the television is a marvel of technology that should be in every home.
I don't know what you just said.
What you fix this with your business?
Technological. rewording.
Scientists. The new best thing is
I like the other phrase though. It sounds more like that. You know, because it's like if you say it should be every home, it sounds like something people would want to do.
If it's still.
scientists agree the new best thing is the TV.
Wait. I'll put some crazy number.
23 trillion.
983.
Hey, we need that extra scientist.
Making sure Caitlin did all the work over here. Okay. She was the best presenter too, that's why neither of you said a word up there.
Okay. 3,000.
I really want to write this.
Scientists agree the new best thing is the TV. Not even right. 3,000. Scientists agree.
That was a serious question, right? That was not big. That's easy word.
Convenient. I would write something about writing like early blog posts. You write something about it that says like,
Okay, I'm gonna use
just so I know exactly what this product is. Yeah, it's a great stuff. And maybe while he's writing, you need some color, consider something that adds some color.
No.
Because these ads, they need some color, so you can throw on there.
It's black and white.
Not the people.
I'll even.
I thought you were looking at this one like,
No.
nobody knew where
Oh, the advertising.
I like that. I would put something on here when you're doing a vacuum. The vacuum is small, it's the biggest thing. You could even do something about like, if I had vacuum now, or something where vacuum is at the center of this ad. Because I like that this draws me in. Maybe something on here so that the vacuum is going on. Does that make sense?
So with that,
If you do a bigger one, like, any of that is good. But I like this. I like you coloring it, making it more.
so there was a little bit on you, so that, you know, it's just a little line. So you're just like looking at it, you don't know, if I tell you, and then you know it, you're like, oh, so it could have been way worse.
What's the price? Did y'all look that up? How much are these things cost? If you wanted to buy something,
I'm wondering if you guys,
that'd be something to know. Look it up. I don't know. I wasn't allowed to, that's how much.
They played good last night. They did play good last night. Dean Hamilton backed up. I don't know if they can win the whole thing without him. Texas pretty hard to play. Heck, man, all that.
Perfect. Awesome. Alright, so definitely y'all can work on that.
Okay, never mind. I'm put some red and yellow. What?
Yellow.
I'm gonna put some red and yellow on that there to highlight it. Like on that.
Actually, when you draw the
If you're not doing anything though, start adding colors. Because I'm gonna like put these pieces of
Alright.
more minutes.
How
Five
about
more.
4 minutes?
Oh, yeah, that's
the
better.
compromise. Is 4 good?
Yes.
Okay, get 4 more minutes.
Compromise. Does she want more time?
Alright, guys, since you got 4 minutes left, try to just put on finishing touches. So color, if you have any more words, and y'all can start gathering around to talk color. I like what y'all are doing. This group is killing it. Yes!
I don't have to have bubble answers. You don't have to, just write it, you know?
Is there any way we could add a stereotype to this?
You got time? No time. We only got 4 minutes. So hold these in too. I'll cover that.
Here, color that one. You know they last year in the summer they sold chocolate energy drink. I don't know. It was yeah, remember the whole thing?
I mean, obviously it wasn't presented during the West Coast because they were there before.
That's great.
It's okay, I got
Maybe like draw like 2 kids or something. Maybe 1 kid. I mean, come on, it's a family, not 2 people.
That is a family. 2 people. Only there was a family of 1 person.
Do you know how many people were in that family?
0, because he was by himself.
Not before.
So like for
Hey, could you draw a kid real quick?
like you know some of those ads that show everyone's characters or it doesn't even have to be that. It can just be like for example, how did this affect society? So you can say that a value that America had is they value convenience, they value being able to do things more efficiently.
You obviously scored it.
I thought that like, this looked a lot like, you know those like cheese things?
Question, while we still have a little bit of time, do you guys know how much TVs cost during this time period?
Oh, let me look.
Because usually if I'm gonna buy something, I need to know the price. If it helps me, if it's convenient enough. If it's too much, maybe it's a good idea to leave it off. But that would be a good thing to know about your product. I don't know if it was more than a car.
What?
I'm not sure.
How much was it?
Wait. I should write how much. Okay, TV 1920. Price, not cost.
Alright guys, you have about 1 more minute, so add on some finishing touches. But you can kind of do a little bit while other people are presenting, but I want you to focus on notes. So 1 more minute.
Black and white. Black.
Almost done. I like it. Yeah, that's awesome.
What do you have written about?
This is Rhode Island.
This can't be right. It says it was like around $1,000. Wait.
$1,000.
Did you see
The
it?
TV icon was rolled in.
Wait. Here it is.
That's what I was exactly thinking.
Okay, it's actually
$2.99.
So wait, that's what it is. I can't find one specifically in the 20s besides the colored one. That was my first TV.
Mr. Nubb. We can't find one of the red slicer.
You can't find it. What? That's okay. If you can't find it, don't worry about it. It was just something that if you could find it, you would find it. So that's alright. I like your ad. You wanna help him color this in now?
Holy crap. I would not do that.
I'm gonna go get purple for the top.
Yeah, so it was around 1,000. Yeah.
Back there.
Alrighty guys, our time is up, so I want to wrap it up. You can do finishing touches, but do them in your seat. I want everyone to be seated. Raise your hand if you are completely done, you feel confident about your ad.
We didn't write about like what the impact, so we know what it is.
That's okay, it doesn't have to be written down. I just want you to be able to kind of talk about it a little bit when you present.
How about for only 8?
Alrighty guys, everyone get in your seats. We're gonna get quiet. Okay, you guys go ahead. Everyone turn your attention up here while they present. And focus on these presentation notes because we want to ask them these questions when they get done.
So we have the diner or the drive-in restaurant.
Hold it up taller. I'll think people back can see. Okay.
Drive restaurant?
Yes. And the reason why I picked this is because it's something that me personally, I love to go in and just, make it feel like it's the olden times. But one of the main things about this is when the women always had to do the cooking. So instead of women having to cook, all they had to do was just, if they had the more money and could afford it, they could just go to a dine-in and sit down and just have a classic meal as a family together.
Awesome. All right, great job, guys. Doing the snaps. Stay up here for a minute. Okay, someone tell me, what do you notice about this advertisement? What technique did they use to make the consumer think they need to be here? They need to go and do it. It says come in, right? Big, bold. Come on in. We're open. Awesome. Okay, so that's a technique. Bold letters. What features kind of show me that this is from the 1920s?
I like the obviously like the jukebox and the table.
Jukebox.
And I also like the sort of the faded out colors, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Okay, I'll have a question for you
I
guys.
have a question.
Yes.
Why do they use so much yellow for advertising in the 20s?
So yellow, so psychology, some studies have shown that yellow and red typically tend to entice people in, it increases their appetite. It's just a good advertising color, red and yellow. So you see that a lot. Okay, and they kind of touched on it. What did they say? Why was it significant in American society? Women. Yeah, that's one reason. Women didn't have to cook. And aside from just women, why is it significant just in general for everyone? Hang out, yes, socialization, stuff like that, and it's more convenient. All right, great job, you guys. That's awesome. All right, this group right here in the front, you guys ready? Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. All right, everybody, focus on theirs. Hey, just kidding, you've been cut off.
Looking for a part-time job? Tomorrow, we will be here in lunch and pick up application. Stop on the table.